welcome. My name is Karen A. from Jerusalem. This is the Afro-Euro Reco12 podcast. We are a group of fellows, a family that works the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous for all addictions and all afflictions. And we come here to share our experience, strength, and hope almost every week. Except when they're extenuating circumstances, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. GMT or 11 a.m. Israel Standard Time, where I'm located. We have a fellow who has recovered through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, whether that's for gambling, drugs, sex, codependency, workaholism, or you name it, through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and is actively working with others. Many of us rather, have worked the workbook, the 12 Steps in 4 Hours workbook that was designed by Cameron A. of Co-MS, again, to find recovery and to get a Cliff Notes for the big book, if you will, for all addictions and all afflictions. David's not on yet. Today, hold on a sec. Let me just see David. So David is going to join us in a second. In the meantime, I will share for those of you who don't know me. I lead this podcast. I came into these rooms through Overeaters Anonymous, but I'm also a card-carrying Al-Anon. I lost my only younger brother to an accidental overdose when he was just 32 years old and just 3 days out of a 60-day rehab. So I use the big book for Al-Anonism. After being both widowed and divorced, I dived back into this program and doubled up on it through fellows who were practicing the Codependence Anonymous program. It's ironic. A lot of the people who were my earth angels who brought me into this fellowship are less active or have relapsed. And thank God, I'm still praying for them, but working the 12 steps and working with others has been the bright spot of many days. And I can really say, this is probably my 10th year in these rooms, but probably my 3rd year in this spiritual gangsters and now the Reco12 fellowship, actively working the big book day in, day out. And when I slip, I got to double up. I'm living life in the 4th dimension, whether that's helping addicts, whether that's helping victims of sex abuse. I work for an organization that is a EMT life-saving service with 7,000 volunteers nationwide. So thank God I get to be in service, trying to be helpful to my higher power and my fellows day in and day out. And that is my wish for you. I wish that you experience that too. And that your darkest past and deepest pain is your future asset today. My widowhood is that today. My divorce is that today. All the trauma and drama I have endured is worth it and doesn't trigger me because of this program. And thanks to this program and fellowship from people like David F., who I'm about to introduce. David F., will you please introduce yourself, share the fellowship or fellowships you identify with, and jump right in. You'll have about 20 to 25 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you, Karen. Firstly, my apologies. My disease sometimes doesn't allow me to be perfect, but I try and progress in this ongoing trudging journey of recovery. So again, my apologies to you and my apologies to those who are waiting for me today. My name is David. I'm a grateful member of various fellowships, and I got brought here into recovery. I'm in my 4th year in October the 7th, 2020. And you heard me say I'm a grateful member because I am. I'm a changed person today. I'm a changed person from where I was in the darkness for a long time. Asleep for a long time. Dreaming that I was awake, and I really wasn't. And let me give you some history around our credentials for being here. I'm married. I'm 54 years old. I've got 3 children. I'm very grateful, still married, through all my difficulties. However, through practicing the principles of recovery, I'm allowed a freedom from the shackles of where I once was. And many years ago, back in my mid-30s, I had a gambling problem that brought me to my knees. And for many years during that, I didn't know what was wrong with me. It all started really for the first time in my life. I was in trouble in business, and I didn't have an escape route for being able to get out of some financial difficulties. And my head told me that I could win some money in the casino, and that took me on a dark spiral path downwards and out of control. And I learned around my instincts gone awry in recovery. I became a shadow of my former self through compulsive gambling, and I was in the wilderness for many years before I got stopped. I didn't stop myself. I got stopped. I got caught, and my only option was to go to a fellowship called GA. And this was all new to me. I'd never been to a fellowship. Never even really heard of fellowship. And for a short period of time, I went to these fellowship meetings, and I learned that there were other people like me, some worse off than me, some not as bad as me, but we all seem to have lost the same thing, and that was the power of control over choice. And I stayed in and out of GA. I went in, I went out, and I thought I could control certain things. And I couldn't. I just couldn't. And eventually got brought to my knees. As we know, this disease is progressive. And in January of 2013 was my last bet. And I fell into a position that, like I said to you before, I was a shadow of my former self. How did I get to this position? I was stealing, I was lying, I was cheating. I lost so much, and I had no control. I tried to control. I tried to only take in certain amounts of money and try to bet just a little amount. I try all types of things. I try not take my only cash, and I try and take some debit cards and leave them at home. And I didn't. I used to travel back home and come back, and I really couldn't understand what was wrong with me. And finally, after many years of destruction, not just financially, but I lost relationships, time, and money, and lost myself. I said that I was never going to bet again. My marriage was hanging by a thread. My work was down in the dumps, as in my own business. And really, I was very, very fearful for where my life was going to go. So I embarked on staying in GA, but that didn't last long. And in my fellowship in GA at the time, we didn't really practice the 12 steps. 12 steps was something that we used to read out every week in some readings. And it was a very watered down version in my meeting around what I know now. So I stayed in those meetings for around a year and a half. Until I decided that, you know what, I knew I was never going to bet again. And I didn't need GA anymore. And I think we all know what's going to happen next. Without a solution, without recovery knowledge, without the 12 steps, it was only a matter of time before I was either going to go insane, crazy, or relapse. I entered into what I now know is a sobriety, where I can't live with my addiction, my compulsive gambling. I can't live without it. And I relapsed. And my relapse took me into a much darker place. This time, not with gambling. I've never had another bet since. But I relapsed through drug addiction, mainly cocaine. And for a while, after I stopped betting, after I stopped gambling, my life got a little bit better. My relationship got better. I started obviously to have a bit of money, and my work got better. And we were going on holidays, and materially things grew, and relationships started to flourish. However, it didn't last long. It didn't last long. Without any unity and any meetings, I stopped going for a long time. My head said, "Hey, Dave, we don't gamble anymore. So let's reward yourself with things that you like." And we used to like to drink, and I used to like to take cocaine, but not very often in the past. But that soon changed. So over a period of a spree that I would say lasted 3 years, from 2017 onwards, I had an unrestrained period of using. That again, I realized that there was something wrong with me, and I didn't realize that I suffered from an illness that only a spiritual experience would conquer. I didn't know that because I wasn't armed with the fact. And again, I went through that repeated a cycle of trying to control. Well, and it was no avail. I entered, again, I got stopped. My wife gave me two choices. My life was burnt to the ground. September 2020, I was on my knees. My business was shattered. My relationships with everyone was shattered. My wife gave me two choices. She said, leave or sort yourself out and go to a treatment center. And my relationship with my cat was hanging by a thread. And the thread was very frayed. My relationships with my children were not very good. I wouldn't pick up the phone to anyone, including my parents or my friends. And post was piling up, and I couldn't face life. I couldn't face reality. And unfortunately, my solution of drugs and alcohol stopped working. And I didn't know how to, as a 50-year-old man, to manage my life. I was a mature adult. I didn't have any answers, and I didn't understand how to get better and what was wrong with me. Just before I went into the treatment center, I was downstairs. I was sleeping downstairs because I wasn't allowed to sleep upstairs. To be honest with you, I was put downstairs. I was on the sofa for a number of months, and just in the middle of the night, I said, "How the hell have I got here?" And I looked up to the sky. I had a glass roof in my where I was sleeping in the den, and I just said, "Please, if there's anything, God, please help me. I don't want to be like this anymore." And within a matter of weeks, I found myself in a treatment center. 28 days, I got separated from drugs and alcohol. I came out. A friend of mine organized a sponsor for me. And soon after, I started embarked on the 12 step. And I got on with the facts. And I all of a sudden started to wake up about what I suffered from and what happened to me and what I needed to do. And I just followed his instructions. My grand sponsor my step guide took me through these steps. And slowly but slowly, I can't tell you the lights went on straight away, but they did over a period of time. And I started to practice these principles. However, about a year and a half in, I was trudging this road of recovery. And perhaps I was taking some days off. And perhaps thinking that, I didn't have to do 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis. And I wasn't feeling great about recovery. A year and a half in, I was offered these promises that were given and read to me during my step work, but they weren't coming true. And then something happened. I was co-host of a meeting, a CA meeting on a midweek online meeting, and my co-host said to me, "David, would you take the meeting one day? We've got a speaker coming in from overseas. Would you take the meeting? You'll be all right." Her name is Nikki M. I said, "Sure, no problem." And our meeting was like 12, 13 people, and Nikki came in. And after about 20 minutes of letting maybe 100 people onto the meeting, my finger couldn't hit the enter button fast enough. I remember it well. I heard Nikki speak, and I immediately said, "Now there's someone with a solution, and there's someone who I want to hear more of." And my recovery brain, my recovery mind said, "I want to seek more." So I got in touch with Nikki, and after the meeting, and I said, "Can you tell me a little bit more about you? I want to know more." She said, "Well, you know what, David, I could get you through, we sponsor in a different way. We sponsor in a different way to what you know, which is directly through the big book. And we sponsor through what's known as big book sponsorship. And I could get someone to take you through it." I said, No. I want you, Nikki, to take me through it. Because one thing that I did hear in that was a clear-cut solution. And the very first thing that we went through after we started embarking on going through the 12 steps through Big Book sponsorship was that helping others is the foundation stone of recovery. And that was something that was, why am I being told that I'm going to help others right at the beginning of teaching someone how to recover through these 12 steps? And over time, I was availed an answer. At the heart of everything that I do, I should put others first before me. And that was something that I never did in the past. And if I go back to when I was in and out of the GA rooms, I used to take from people, other people in those rooms, some advice. Did I ever give it back? I don't think I did. Did I ever stay after the meetings and offer to help other newcomers back then? I don't think I did. And I wanted it all for myself. I was very selfish, very self-driven. And I don't need to tell you guys that at the root of our troubles is our self-centeredness, selfishness, etc. Because I was self-will run riot. And through doing this work, I got to see that in my step 4 and step 5. So it says also early on that half measures are going to avail me nothing, and I should work my recovery the same as I used to work for my betting, my gambling, and my drug addiction. And that means morning, noon, and night. And after working these steps with Nikki for the last 2 years, just over, my recovery has rocketed. And why is it rocketed? It's rocketed because I try and follow the principles of recovery as best I can. Not perfectly. I'm no saint. I certainly am not, but I try and improve. And today is about discipline. And the disciplines of this program for me are routine. Routine means for me, I aim to be, what's the difference between an amateur and a professional? In recovery, if we want to get better, we want freedom, we have to surrender more to the program and ultimately to our higher power, to God. The difference is that professionals reach a level of consistency that cannot be beat. And that's what I know I have to do on a daily basis. And that means 10, 11, and 12. And like I said, my recovery has rocketed since I started working with Nikki some years ago. And there's two things that are certainly apparent for me. Understanding, knowing what I need to do. And I suppose there's a big difference also between, for me, knowing it and experiencing this program. And you can't teach experience how I feel about what I do, but I know through what I do, which is practicing the principle, which is on a daily basis, taking stock of things that are going on for me today or throughout my day, making a journal in the evening, reaching out to others, pausing when agitated, taking my inventory in the morning on daily awakening, looking at what was going on for me the day before, praying as soon as I awake, asking God to direct me, and then a period of meditation, and followed by a step 7 prayer, and then going into calling fellows and giving away what I've got, giving away what I've learned freely, sincerely from the heart, because I am definitely a changed person today. I can't always say I act perfectly, like I say, absolutely not. But I strive for perfection in my recovery program. I strive for it. The more that I practice these things consistently, the better I feel. Like I said, the foundation stone of this recovery is helping others. Bill talks about 3 different types of stones in his recovery. And the first one is the most important for me. The foundation of anything. I was told that, the foundation of a house, the structure of a house, its foundations, if it's not set correctly or built correctly, it's going to fall down. I used to do a bit of amateur boxing. First thing that I learned in boxing was my stance. If I didn't stand right, I was going to get knocked over very easily. And so today, I endeavor to put others before me. Can't always say that comes in my first thoughts, but it certainly does resonate in my second and third thought. Perhaps when someone asks me to do things, maybe my teenage kids ask me to ferry them around, and my immediate answer might be, can I not be doing something better instead? And then I realize, no, I need to be doing something for others, including my kids, including my family, including my sponsors, including my work colleagues, including my friends, and generally including anyone that I come into contact with, and that includes my family as well, my elderly mother, and my poorly eldest brother who suffers MS. I try and put them before me in most things, or pretty much everything that I do. And the results of practicing these principles, we've all heard the cliche saying that the worst day in recovery doesn't compete with the best day in addiction. And that's true. That's so true for me. And I only recently started to try and break that down. Why is that for me why is the very worst day in the last nearly 4 years of recovery? Why is that? And today, I know why. Because at the back and behind everything today, I have a higher power behind me. I have a higher power behind me who wants the best for me, who loves me. Just so long as I keep him close and perform his work well. Not perfect, but we strive to be better, and I strive to be better. So I do a few simple things, not always easy, and usually those not easy things come in the face of when things I'm disturbed by, and I have to practice even harder when the pain of the disturbable in me is usually when God's asking me some questions of where I need to grow. And at the heart of it, if I am suffering and I fall back into my defects of character that served me so well in addiction, if I fall back into some of my defects and I become less useful, obviously myself, but then again, I become less useful for others and to others because of that. So with God's help and some hard work, I've been graced with recovery. Thinking back to anyone who may be listening today that may be suffering, there is definitely a solution. This program 100% works. I am encouraged to keep trudging this path and keep seeking and moving forward. My ability to grow through this portal of the 12 steps allows me to be the best version that I can be of myself, and not restrained by being shackled by addiction. I'm unchained from that. And so long as I stick to the course, sometimes we wander off, but our guide, my sponsor, can bring me back on to the path through the solution of this big book. I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much, Karen, for inviting me on. My apologies for being late, and I hope someone out there got something out of what I just said.
Thank you, David F. We are so happy to have you. People on the line, if you'd like to jot your questions down or anything that popped in your head, please do that in the chat. I've written down some questions. Before that, I wanted to mention that this program will be saved and recorded on Reco12.com. If you'd like to check out and share this podcast or any others in the Afro-Euro or many other time zones, you could find them there. If you'd like to pay a seventh tradition, you could do that at Reco12.com/support. And we use PayPal and Venmo, and that helps cover the cost of Zoom and whatever other technical stuff is behind all this magic that helps spread recovery worldwide without you having to leave your home, your car, your office, whatever. So I love what you said, David, about your worst day in recovery can never be as bad as your best day in addiction. Tell me about your worst day in recovery, or what that concept kind of means. Take it whichever way you like.
So my worst day in recovery will be when I dip back into my defects. And sometimes I can wake up in the morning and I've said my step 3 prayer, and I might have uttered it. I might just have said it very quickly without really trying to connect. Usually I was taught from the very beginning from my grand sponsor to say the step 3 prayer, even when I'm lying in bed, even when my eyes haven't opened yet. And I might not have really connected, like I said, and I can come downstairs and I know I've got, I get a little bit overwhelmed. I've got a lot of emails to do. I'm still making financial amends that, I've got to make those today. I've got so much on my plate. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And I get overwhelmed. But it's a very different overwhelm from when I used to be in addiction. Cold sweats in the morning, waking up, that overwhelmed of absolutely no hope of this is going to be a perpetual, for me, it was a perpetual hamster wheel. It was torture because I knew what was going to happen every day. I had no control. But today, all I have to do like I said, when I get overwhelmed with overwhelming stuff, I've got tools. I can pause. I can stop. I can meditate. I can speak to my sponsor. I can talk about these things to my fellow. I can ultimately, obviously, pray and meditate for a better direction today.
I love what you just said. I'm going to add one in there, and you could course correct, right? It's not like the old David F., the old Karen A. It would be like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm resentful, I'm angry, I'm selfish, things are not going my way, I'm trying harder, I'm pushing harder, I'm using more elbow grease, and then at the end, I'm just like, I just want this day to be over. This day is a wash. And in recovery, we've been reborn, and if we're really living this lifestyle, we know that God is everything or God is nothing. And if I've forgotten that he's everything, the second later, I could just get back in touch. I could plug right in. And that's just what you're saying is just such a great reminder. You just really took me back to my own overwhelm with work and kids and the minute I got overloaded, yelling, screaming, sometimes being aggressive physically. And, thank God just for today, we have a program where we could take ourselves for a little time out, for a little, insight time or step 11 meditation where we can, breathe, do breath work, mindfulness, whatever your bag is. Different
That's right, Karen. It's true. And also if even things get a little bit more, if we further dive into more of being overwhelmed, then the book has a solution for us. We throw ourselves harder into working with others. And when we're working with others, there's one thing that I'm not thinking about, and that's this. I'm not thinking about me. And I come out of helping my sponsees through the step, and I feel better.
And I want you guys to read between the lines here. I want to point it out to everybody on the line. This is radical, like our buddy Nikki M says. This is so radical. What David F. is saying and what his buddy Karen A. here is saying is that when my mom is, criticizing me up, down, right, and left, when my kids are being, mouthing off, not doing what they need to do, their room is a mess, they're not helping with chores, add whatever to the list. When my coworker is being aggressive or defensive or whatever, when I'll know the food I bought to work just, went bad and dang, like my delicious lunch is now sour. When all that happens, instead of, whining, complaining, going to another therapist, another therapy session, which I'm not against. The big book tells us to go to the properly appointed authority. I personally go to properly appointed authorities in conjunction with my recovery work. But this is so radical what it's saying, that when all that is going on and kind of the heat is on, I pause, I let in God, I do my 6 and 7, ask God to remove my character defects, my overwhelm, my anger, my frustration, my depression, my despair, my feeling like I'm never going to change. Oh, this character defect again, it's just, and then immediately I double up. Like when things are going as bad as it gets, I'm like, okay, I better schedule the Afro-12 Reco podcast through September. Okay. Now I should really check in with my sponsees and see how they're doing. Okay. I really got to take on a new sponsee. A few people have fallen, the people I were working with were falling off, or they weren't serious. Like, that is so radical when things are going as bad as it can get. But now we get trained as soldiers to say, okay. And it's amazing. Like you said, I can't be here in my head. So I'm in service mode. Yesterday I was like, walked in my office and two young guys, which is just great because it's, my dark past being my greatest asset. I told you guys before David F came on the call, I'm a card carrying Al-Anon. My baby brother died of an accident overdose just 3 days out of 60-day rehab. And it's like, I get to be big sister everywhere. Like, that dark past is my greatest asset. Just yesterday in my office, two guys who are about 15 years younger than I were griping about, their salary and their bosses and their workload. And I was able to be helpful. And that's what I do when I'm having a bad day. Instead of letting go bad to worse to, let's just shut this thing off. So thank you for reminding that this is a radical. Okay, we have a question here from Brian D. And feel free to comment on what I just said after that, David. Take it whatever way you want. Brian D is asking, can you describe your daily schedule a bit in terms of balancing having a family who needs you, work, and all the service you do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll come back to you first and I'll answer that question, Karen, because one thing that conjured up in my mind around what you just said was, look, it's great for me when everything's going fine in recovery, when everything's going well, and I use this picture with my sponsees. It's a beautiful summer's day. You're driving down the road. It's really hot. The sun's shining. You've got one arm out the window. You've got one arm on the wheel. You're listening to some music, and life's going beautifully. The weather changes and bumps come in the road. And it's really important for me that I am spiritually consistent, because it doesn't say, we know that those days cannot be always. You know what? We're not always going to be like that. We're going to hit bumps in the road. Life does change. And we've got this program's got us for when those bumps hit and when life does become difficult. And I've dealt with some of the hardest stuff, like you. I'm sorry to hear about your loss. One of my biggest fears was I lost my father, and I was guided through his passing last year, guided through these 12 steps of knowing what to do, how to be of help to others, including my mother, including my brothers at the time, writing eulogies, being asked to speak. It's always about, for me, putting others first before me. And the only thing that's getting in the way of me and others and God is me. So thank you for reminding me of that, Karen. Can I describe my daily schedule? I mean, my daily schedule starts really, like I told you before, Howard just said, as soon as I wake up, I ask God to direct me. I say my step 3 prayer. Sometimes my eyes can be open, sometimes not. It's rare that I don't say my step 3 prayer before I'm out of, and literally my legs haven't touched the ground. And it feels very strange if I jumped out of bed for any reason that I might have been woken up or something. If I've not said my step 3 prayer within the first few minutes of being awake, it feels strange to me. So that's the first thing I do. Then after a bit of breakfast or some exercise, usually in the morning, whatever I do, I sit down, I go through my inventory from the night before on awakening, look through my 24 hours ahead. I see what's on my schedule, what I should be doing for the day. So after reading my inventory, I then, meditate. I meditate anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes a day in the morning. And after that, and then for my meditation, it's literally to stop the thoughts flowing and try and be quiet in my head and listen. Not always easy at the beginning, but with practice, it's become pretty much a daily routine. And then following meditation, I'll say a few more prayers. I'll ask God to remove some of the stuff that was maybe not working for me the day before in my written inventory. I'll say the set aside prayer and the step 7 prayer. Throughout the day, I'll remind myself and be obsessed about things that, you know what, I'm being told to be grateful for, which, takes me out of my own destructive obsessions. And times I just connect up to God. Simple ones as I'm here, I know you're there, and thank you, showing some gratitude. That's my balancing act with my family. Is look, they come first. My family come first before anything. Their needs come at the top, and then I've got to work. I'm reconstructing a business. Still 4 years in reconstruction from being in recovery. So I'm building that piece by piece back together again. And afterwards, service. I go to meetings twice a week. I do a face-to-face meeting on a Tuesday, and I do an online meeting on a Monday, and I do service on those meetings. I'm on GSR on one of those meetings as well. So I'll do once a month. I'll go to an online district meeting, and I think you asked me how do I know when to do service for my kids or other family members, on when to choose the program. Well, I've become aware of priorities through having clarity of mind, because my thinking through working this program gives me clarity of thought. The most important thing is, if someone needs my help in my family, there and then, and I'll help where I can. If it interferes with my program, which it rarely does, my kids and family know that I do my meetings twice a week. They know that I do my sponsee calls for around anywhere between 8 and 10 hours a week, which when spread over a week isn't that much, but still, they know that, you know what, that's helping me. That's my oxygen to my recovery. So they know how important it is for me. There's a respect from my family on my recovery, but there's also an awareness of when and who to put first, and that's usually my family. Yes, hope that helps.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful. I mean, I'll jump in on that one. I find that, as a mother, Brian, knows this, you don't, David, I have 6 children and I'm a single mother. Thank God. Always is usually a pretty good time to help my family, right? Right. Like, it's always a good time to pray for them. It's always a good time to cook something for them. It's always a good time to clean up so the house is nice and pleasant for them. It's always a good time, if I'm in the supermarket, to think about what each person likes. My 10-year-old likes nectarines. My oldest daughter, whatever, is on a diet. My other daughter, likes this special thing. It's always a good time to be doing service with my family. And that doesn't mean I'm knocking myself out. Actually, in recovery, I was doing a step 12 with a friend who's really overweight, had a lot of trauma. Her son went through many depressions, and her daughter got married and divorced. And then her granddaughter lost consciousness and suffered a lot of brain damage and is having a series of surgeries. And I went for coffee with her yesterday, and it's like, here I am. I'm a single mom. I'm working. I got this load. I made a massive bar mitzvah last week. I'm a widow. It's my husband's memorial this week. And she's like, can you drive to me? And it's like, I don't always do this. I don't usually do this, but I was like, yeah, like I have a step 12 opportunity. I know she's a compulsive overeater. I'm not inundated with sponsees. I could do this. It's a 15-minute drive. I could do this. I could be helpful. This is radical. This is good for her. I could share some hope. She said this line to me. And this is just next level. This is just how we live, right, David F., right, Brian D? This is just how our family lives. She's like, don't you feel with all these traumas, all these things we've been through, there's like a little bit of us chipped away all the time, right? Because that's the consensus. That's the world consensus, like, daddy did this, Chip. Mommy was neglectful. She wasn't around. She didn't love me. Another, jab, uppercut, we're just getting knocked around, black and blue. And that's the consensus, like more trauma, another breakup, another guy left me, another person died. And it's just like chipping away at me until we're like, just beat to a pulp. And this program is so radical because it says, no, your past is your greatest asset. I was sitting with my friend and I told her point blank, I was there. And I was desperate enough that I didn't want to live that way anymore. And today, rather than trying to figure out if my ex, when I remarried, was a narcissist or bipolar or this, I'm like, it wasn't a fit. And, if I think of a good girl, even I would send him to her. When I came in these rooms, I was so beaten up and broken down about being betrayed and being left. And today I'm like, if I knew someone right, I might even set him up. Like, that is so radical to like, I'm black and blue and butchered and bruised. What do you think, David F? What do you think about that? About just this radical thing of like, rather than another issue and another issue and that.
Okay, sorry, I muted myself. I think for me, what comes up is, look, when sat in soul, we are blocked out from the spirit of the sunlight. We're blocked out from doing God's work. We're blocked out because we're in self-pity. I'm not good enough. Here we go again. Oh my God. You know what? I need to do this. I need to be. What the program tells me that I need to be is helpful. And you just said that when if you've got a potential prospect, I can also be reminded, when you've got potential prospect, we give away what we've got, and we help another soul get better. We help another soul. We give them something that they haven't got. We give them some hope around our recovery. And for me, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit. Nikki always tells me, you're going to sit in your dirty diaper, sat on the couch, sat in self, in me. I'm not good enough. This, that. I'm going to do that is to die. To do that is to die. So get out of self. Go and help someone. Go and walk the dog. Go and help your elderly neighbor. Go and tidy the room or someone's room. Go and do something, but don't sit in self. I've been told very clearly in recovery, it's not about how we feel, Karen. It's about what we do. It's about what we do. What would God have us be? What would God have me be? And He wouldn't have me sat in self. Oh, excuse me, that's my dog's barking at the neighbors. And He wouldn't have me sat in self. So I have to get myself out of self by putting others before me. Does that help?
Yes, it does help. Out of self. And we have to remember not to get scared by our selfishness, right? We addicts. We have to remind ourselves, I'm an addict. I'm an addict. I'm a codependent. I'm a mental defective, whatever you identify as. I'm driven by 100 forms of fear. I just got a WhatsApp for someone. I thought he was going to give me a new, as we say in this country. I thought he was going to give me a finger wag. And it's just listen to the message and trust that God will serve you, just how to stay out of self and remember, no, my default is driven by 100 forms of fear, anxiety, self-pity, will prey to misery and depression, like Nikki M says, fake news. And I think that's a great place to close. And I'll thank your dog for being our timekeeper here. You know, we're intelligent agent spearheads of God's everlasting creation. So let's all, whether you're live on this line or listening, you know, hundreds of people listen to these recordings, remember that you are a child of God, child of whatever you believe in. You're precious, you're beautiful, you're whole, your experience say nothing about you. You are holy, and you are a spearhead of God's everlasting creation. With that, David F., we'll get some final words from you, and then you could just go ahead and pray us out.
Just wanted to thank you for today. Apologize again for being late. I really enjoy these podcasts. I really enjoy the Reco12 fraternity. I get a lot from listening to all you shared. I feel very grateful to participate and potentially help anyone that's listening. So thank you. Would you like me to lead you out or with the Serenity Prayer?
Yeah, maybe would you like us to all unmute and we could say it together?
Yeah, that'd be great. So using God as you come to understand. God,
grant us a serenity
to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
I've seen stars fall from above. I've fallen in and out of love. I've been high and I've been low. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. I've seen a boy become a man. He got lost without a plan. He's so far away from home. Now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. I'm looking for the words to say. You make the world a better place, and I can call that place my home. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. So let me see just what you need to set you free, so we can be. I saw stars fall from above. I fell in and out of love. I got high and I fell low. But now I know that I just can't do this on my own. No, I just can't do this on my own. I just can't do this on my own.